I went to Flint Ridge Memorial Museum, which is not at all your typical museum. Now, it's only open a couple of days a week. Make the effort to find out when it's open and go there, because, at least for me, it was like being back in 4th grade and I was on a field trip and I was getting more than just a look at this and look at that, but it was a hands-on experience, and it was also a demonstration of some pretty cool things that I'd never seen before. So take a look at what is inside that Flint Ridge Memorial Museum.
I think this museum is a little bit underrated. You know, I've been watching videos, like YouTube videos, and a lot of them, I'd say almost every one of them, has shown the outside, nothing on the inside. If you would, again, just show me the difference between the heat treating and non-heat treated.
This is flint that's mined in this area. It's called Flint Ridge, an 8 by 3 mile piece of flint that at this location is 12 feet thick and tapers off to about nothing towards the edges. So it's called a flint lens. And when you mine the flint out of here, it kind of all looks the same. It looks kind of like this. If I had to explain this to a 4th grader, they probably would come back and say this is boring. But an amazing thing happens when you heat this up. About 400 to 600 degrees Fahrenheit for 4 to 6 hours, and you get colors like this. Blues and reds and oranges, and occasionally greens from this flint here. In fact, it's such a dramatic difference. Believe it or not, this was the same rock, and as you can see, it is absolutely changed. And once that happens, it's a permanent change. It is really, really cool. So you see the reds and the blues in there. And even if you look closely, there's some greens also in there. How dramatic is those changes? Well, there are 2 properties that change with flint: color and brittleness. When a flint is heated, it becomes brittle, so it's easier to shape. But stuff around here is, in fact, unique in the world. It is sometimes referred to as rainbow flint. I've had geologists come from Taiwan that said, "Can I get a piece of rainbow flint?" And I said, "How'd you figure this out? Because you're the only one in the world." And I said, "Fantastic." Well, there was a gentleman right across the street that mined a piece of flint out of the ground like this. Didn't know what he was going to get, but he found something amazing. He shaped it into a spear point and created something like this. He sells these pieces for between $20,000 and $50,000. This was the inspiration for the state of Ohio back in 1965 to make Flint the official gemstone for the state of Ohio. As we were doing more and more investigations of the area, the flint that's found in this area kind of looks more like this, whereas just 3 miles down the road, it looks this dramatically different. But when you heat it up, you will get the reds, you will get the blues, and you will get the greens. Geologists all over the world, all they have to do is look at this and say, "I know where this came from." It came from this, an 8 by 3 mile patch of central Ohio.
And this was really interesting. I'm gonna have to make comment about this because
That's
those
an
are
example of what a crinoid looks like.
those are crinoids. Oh yeah, like so those are crinoids in this microcrystalline quartz.
Yeah.
So crinoids. And then this table over here are things that you can touch.
Yes.
So now I'm not gonna make any arrowheads or projectile points today, but I just had to say that I think it's impressive that you allow people to touch and experiment a little with this material. I mean, this in itself is just gorgeous. And the hammerstones, these are great examples, and the drill.
Yeah.
So it's really worth it to come inside, man. This is great. And there's a whole lot of examples. Projectile points, knives, hammerstones, scrapers. Incredible. And maybe the most impressive thing is there is an actual pit inside, so you can see what they look like. It's incredible.
Even modern Ohioans know that deer are fairly shy. So if I came up, I do not think by hand I could throw this very far. Oh, about there. That's pretty cool. But I don't think you'll get deer that'll come that close. An invention that was replicated without email or snail mail or any kind of mail was invented throughout the whole world. It's called a spear thrower. And with this,
Holy cow.
you can go a little farther.
I'd say that's twice as far.
Of course, standing up in front of a deer probably doesn't do it. So I could be behind a bush and still throw it as far.
Yeah,
I don't need any body motion,
just with the arm
just with the arm.
and wrist probably.
Yes, because it's a principle of physics. I've increased the circumference of that arch, and it's not just additive, it's multiplied.
Yeah.
I've talked to some high schoolers that have thrown it like 50 to 80 yards.
Wow.
And we have the Ohio Atlatl Association come here every year, and they set up their targets at 30 and 50 yards out. And it's amazing how deadly and how powerful this tool can be.
Flint at Flint Ridge. Just a big, big sample. Big, big rock. Lots and lots of holes in the ground. I totally recommend going to the museum and being able to see the one that they have there as a demonstration. Flint Ridge is a chain of long, narrow hills extending from a few miles east of Newark almost to Zanesville. In 1965, Ohio made this kind of flint their official gemstone. And I can see why. This reminds me of petrified wood that you see out in the petrified forest.